Hey guys, and welcome back to another ASX CEO interview. Welcome back to the channel. We're very excited today to be welcoming Brett Lynch. He's the CEO of Sayona Mining, and I'm sure over the past few weeks or the past few months, you might have heard about the ASX SYA story. They're an emerging lithium producer with their flagship project in Authier, Quebec Canada. They've got a number of other different exploration initiatives as well. It's been an incredible past period for the company. Of course, they started with a partnership with Piedmont Lithium. They've been developing this over the past few years, and it's now culminated with the approval for NAL Acquisition. It's an exciting time. There's a lot for us to unpack and to discuss. Brett, welcome to the channel.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and grateful for the opportunity to talk a little more about our story at Sayona.
It's been an incredible past period of news flow and announcements. So much has happened, but maybe for those who might be new to the story, did you want to talk about who Sayona Mining is and how you've got to where we are at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're ASX listed. We have been for a lot of years, mainly as a junior explorer. We have a long history in developing mineral exploration projects. We have assets in both Canada and Western Australia. In Canada, we're focused on lithium. We have two projects there, which is first is called Authier, our flagship project, which is a lithium resource, and we're looking to move that into commercialization over the next year or two. We also have very close to that a prospect called Tanzim. That's probably a couple of years behind Authier, but it looks like being a world-class prospect. And then also, most recently, as you mentioned in the intro, was we've just actually acquired, it's hot off the press, an existing operating mine, which again is very close to Tanzim and Authier, called North American Lithium. And we're hoping that we will be able to integrate those three very close, almost satellite deposits, to create a leading world-scale lithium production hub to supply North America. So that's the Quebec chapter. We also have in Western Australia lithium prospects as well, and we're developing those in terms of drilling. They're at that stage with one of our partners called Authier Mining. Also in Western Australia, which is very exciting for us, we have significant claim area in gold prospects, and they're all very close and encircle the Hemi de Grey's project, which has been spectacular, nothing short of it of late, and so that's the other chapter that we're writing for Sayona.
Of course, there's been a lot of discussion about electric vehicles and lithium and this transition towards the electrification around the world. Would love to hear your thoughts about that backdrop and what's been going on in that macroeconomic environment and why Sayona's offering is primed to be a beneficiary of that.
Well, it is the headline every day, isn't it? The electrification, the drive towards clean emissions and renewable energy. It is so logical, so sensible, that it is, inevitable, and it's certainly the destiny which Sayona has positioned itself in terms of, firstly, because of our background and being able to help the development of the supply chain, particularly from the mining and the production and processing side of it. It's a young industry. It needs, I think, pretty adventurous teams and skills and experience to be able to develop that so quickly, because it is literally growing exponentially. I think about 2 years ago, particularly in North America, they're only whispering about electric, renewable energy. At the moment, since the Biden administration came in, it's talked about non-stop. Just think in a year's time, they'll be screaming in the streets about it. So it is moving exponentially, and that's a great thing. We're very excited about being part of such an opportunity, a growth curve, for us to actually deploy our skills and hopefully, make a good contribution to the world as well as our shareholders. So that's from that side of things. I think the numbers, when you look at it, again, are just mind-boggling. We're up to gigafactories now. Again, 2 years ago we were megafactories. Now we're gigafactories, and we're every continent in the world, whether it's Europe, the US, Asia, Pacific, are all embarking on that. I think again some of the stats were, in 2015 there was like 3 mega factories in the world, and there's plans and underway for 200 gigafactories by 2030. So that relates, just transfers down into huge amounts of lithium, because it is the energy storage source for lithium batteries that will power the electric vehicles and the capacity to develop all of this renewable energy in the future. And that means we do need people like Sayona and companies like Sayona to develop safely, securely, but quickly and efficiently to keep up with that now demand. Nowhere probably is that, from our perspective, more present now than in the North American market. We went to North America and specifically we're invested in Quebec. We went there more than 5 years ago when we first started to develop that Authier project. We were sort of at the fringes of interest for most people, because I don't think people could join the dots. But why we went there was because there's various forms of lithium, and as you've probably heard, there's lots of lithium in the world, down to parts per billion. But there's a particular form of lithium called spodumene, which is a hard rock substance that is very reliable, is well known. And Australia's arguably some of the best hard rock miners in the world, and so we're very comfortable and know that product. One of the largest reserves of that in the world is in Quebec and Western Australia. No surprise as to why we have a footprint in both. But we went to Quebec because we saw that it was a supply centre for North America, and particularly the US, because of it's so few and far between. So that is sort of the logic as to why we planted our flag in Quebec as well, because we think we've got the skills as well as the position to be able to support that massive growth that's now coming in the US, as it now needs a domestic supply chain, and it needs to literally reinvent how it's sourcing its lithium products to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, it's definitely a compelling sector story. And of course, with everything that's been going on, the development of the Sayona story in Canada, would love to hear your thoughts. I've heard it mentioned previously about this hub that will be developing there. We know there's an accommodative environment as well from Quebec. What does that mean for the story moving forward?
Well, hopefully, upwards and onwards. And that's because, as you say, firstly, the Quebec government is very proactive and supportive of developing this industry. It's its number one strategic initiative in its domestic policies, and that's great to see. I think that government is really so far looking forward on leading this sector and transformation. So that's a great support for us to build from. Second, the resource base, as I said, is very large and relatively well developed. But it's not just the resource base that's the important thing here. It's because Quebec has this unique energy supply, which is hydroelectric renewable power. It's clean, it's green, and they really have a phenomenal base on which to support the clean development of our mining industry and processing, which has always been associated with diesel engines and pretty dirty carbon footprints. Quebec gives us the chance to have a very, very clean carbon footprint, because it's very energy intensive in terms of producing a kilo of lithium. But with that type of energy base, we actually can do it very carbon efficiently. So that's another platform there. And of course, the third one is its proximity, as I mentioned before, to the major US market. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is because of it's in North America. It's strategically, geopolitically very secure. And if you're going to build an energy, industry, you want that very secure. So that makes all the sense in the world. But the other important part that comes from that is lithium is one of those industries that the supply chain needs to be very tight in terms of distance, because the distance you transport some of this lithium, particularly spodumene, in its various forms, is not carbon efficient. And so you want to reduce that supply chain distance to very, very tight. And so, Quebec is, within, a few thousand kilometres, a maximum of any of those major, and in fact, it's hundreds of kilometres from, a very large car industry base in Ontario that's, supplies a lot of vehicles to the US. So that also means that we think we've got a very sustainable, competitive footprint and business model for the North American market.
Of course, that leads us on to the NAL acquisition. We'd love to hear your thoughts, firstly, about the logic behind it and the strategy, and then also what it's going to mean once you're able to integrate in the assets and the facilities under the Sayona banner.
Yeah, it's something that we've worked on long and hard for. It's something more than 12 months we've been working on this acquisition. What the reason for it was primarily that this North American lithium mine would enable us to access already a fully developed concentrator. I mentioned before we have Authier and Tanzim. They're effectively deposits that need to have concentration manufacturing processes put on site, and that takes a long time, and we need to go faster. So NAL gives us, Sayona, the opportunity to fast track that step to spodumene concentrate, which is the first step in the refining of lithium. That gives us the opportunity to do that so much quicker than if we were to do it from a greenfields perspective. And given these sites are so close together, that gives us then the logistics opportunity to move those ores between sites and just utilise that existing facility without us. And again, it's just a more efficient, a cleaner way, rather than us build another concentrator literally 30 kilometres down the road. And so that opportunity, was what really triggered us to see if we could change the model that had been in Quebec, where one mine had one concentrator. We've now got three mines. In terms of spoken hub model, we've got three mines feeding one central concentrator. We've been doing this in iron ore and lots of products in Australia for a lot of years. And so it was some of that, I think, paradigm shift that helped us, realise what the potential could be of not just this NAL opportunity in terms of speed, but creating then a hub whose mine life would then be much longer, which is important. The reserve base could be much larger, which you need to supply this exponential growth, and that it would be world scale. And again, the economics, the efficiencies for Quebec to be able to compete against the world miners who all want to target the US market. That economies of scale was very important, and this allows us to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And you've mentioned that the goal is to become that world scale lithium producer. Would love to hear your thoughts about the pathway to production and how that looks moving forward.
I always describe it as little steps and quickly. We like to not too big or adventurous risk, even though our vision is quite a huge leap. We'll, through a series of steps, firstly establish a world-class resource base, which effectively we've done now between Authier, Tanzim, and NAL. We now have the largest single resource base of spodumene in North America, and it's moving up to world scales. Not as big as our deposits in Western Australia, but yeah, it's certainly up there, and can compete on a scale basis. So that's great. The second step was then to be able to produce at a world scale concentrate level called spodumene at 6%. The NAL production facility gives us that opportunity because it is a world scale plant. It's rated at 250,000 tonnes a year production of spodumene. So that moves us, because that's as big a plant as anywhere else effectively in the world. So that gave us that step. The third step for us, because as I said, having the supply chain very tight and fully integrated will be, I think, the success for lithium producers in the future. And so we will be moving to then further refine that spodumene from 6% to 99.99%, we hope. And we'll be doing that within Quebec. And so that's the next hop, skip, and that's the jump that we'll then be able to do now that we've completed the first two. Well, we're in the process of completing the first two steps of our pathway.
It'll be fascinating to watch it evolve. And of course, there is this partnership with Piedmont Lithium as well. They've also discussed potentially going downstream into the lithium hydroxide production. I'd love to hear your reflections firstly on what the partnership means and any further developments that could unfold from that as well.
Yeah, well, our partnership with Piedmont's been great. You know, it came together quite quickly, only late last year. And that was because I think, you know, ourselves and Piedmont have a very similar vision of where success will be in developing the North American market. And we knew that the scale of that was something that frankly neither of us could do on our own. And having alignment there would make sense, albeit, you know, we've got a Quebec base on that side of the border, and the Piedmont team focused in North Carolina, you know, and that's only 1,800 kilometers away. But we could see that gave us a much stronger position to be able to, you know, align and to cooperate on being able to meet these demands of, you know, not just Tesla, it's now General Motors, it's Ford, it's Chrysler. All of these players are all now, you know, moving to want to source within North America lithium hydroxide, and that's what Piedmont and us are intending to be, world scale producers of both of that. The other, I guess, interesting part over and above the vision is we're also got the similar building blocks. So both us and Piedmont are focused on the two major spodumene reserves in North America, being North Carolina and Quebec. And today, certainly, the most efficient way to convert spodumene, to produce hydroxide, is actually through spodumene. And we have big footprints now in both those resource bases in North America. So we'll apply similar technologies. You know, there'll be a lot of potential, as I said, cooperation, leveraging for how we develop this technology and production facilities, which again have really not been done outside of China very much in the world. So that, I think, together, you know, in a very fast market that's growing very quickly, that's very young, that's got a lot of challenges in front of it and a lot of learning to do, you know, is why I think our partnership, you know, is pointed in the right direction, and we're very comfortable with it today.
It's a fantastic partnership. And I must ask you, of course, after a phenomenal start to 2021, we've seen ASX SYA up by over 500%. As a CEO, how much attention do you pay to the share price, and also where to from here after such a rapid uplift?
Yeah, well, look, you know, I've got a smile on my face, so I can't say I focus on it every day, but, you know, happy shareholders is a happy CEO. So I think that's the adage. But I do think, you know, we've got a lot of chapters to write yet in Sayona. Hopefully I've explained little steps quickly. I've talked about the 3 steps that we've got. We've only just got to step 2. Step 3 is the biggest step in actually that refining next step. You know, we're at spodumene. Spodumene sells at $500 now. It used to sell $500 a ton 6 months ago. It's $700+ a ton today, and who knows what it'll be in 12 months' time. But it's at that level. You know, hydroxide is now today somewhere closer to $15,000 a ton. So you know, we've got, I think, good opportunities to, as we move up the value curve in lithium production, to really deliver even potentially higher, you know, jumps and returns, given I think that we're at base camp at Mount Everest. We've still got a long way to go, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there to go a lot higher.
For sure. And of course, you mentioned as well, there are some other exploration activities in Western Australia. Did you want to touch on those opportunities that investors might be looking out for?
Yeah, sort of the corner of our other eye, which we're developing now, is particularly the gold portfolio in Western Australia. We have almost 1,000 square kilometres of ground in the Pilbara. Again, we know that area very well from all of our lithium background. And so we've got prospects that effectively encircle that Hemi de Grey area. And, they've had phenomenal success and results, which don't seem to be stopping. And, they seem to be getting closer and closer to our claims. So we're hoping we're going to sort of bump into each other in the not too distant future. So a lot of work at very early days, but we feel like we're in the right place in the right time with the Pilbara and gold, and just like we feel like we're in the right place at the right time with lithium in North America.
It's been a busy period. There's so much to unpack and continue to watch for. Would love to hear your thoughts for those shareholders who have been on the ASX SYA journey for a while, or those who prospectively might be looking into the Sayona story now. Did you have any final reflections or growth drivers that investors should be looking for moving out?
Yeah, look, I think we've quickly moved up the curve from a very volatile stock, based on exploration results. We now have acquired $400 million worth of assets there at North American Lithium. We should be turning those into production, by the end of 2022, early 23. That's only 18 months away. And so I think it's shifting the profile, of how we're rated and how we're assessed. That's now changing. That will be a key one around the lithium side of things. And that will be driven a lot, by the lithium price and the supply demand curves, even more so than when we were a prospector, because, we're closer to the production point now. And you've seen that with the revaluing of some of the bigger producing facilities in Australia and companies, Pilbara Minerals, for example. So that's on that side. I think will be interesting to see how we re-rate based on our success to get through, commissioning, which again is very strong background in Sayona. That's what we have done and do, arguably very well. And then we've got this new chapter with the gold in Australia, and that will be still at that very exciting potential area, and again it'll depend on how much more successful I think Hemi de Grey's is, and exactly how much exploration we're doing. So I think that looking into the future, there is a yet to be assessed and totally undeveloped gold portfolio that looks pretty exciting, that could move pretty quickly. And then hopefully, the base and the volatility of our share price will be stabilizing as we now, moved, into big boy pants in Quebec.
It's an exciting story. Congratulations to you and the team for what's been an incredible first half of 2021. And there's definitely many chapters to go. So we'll be watching where the ASX SYA story heads from here. Thank you so much for joining us on the channel today, Brett.
It was a pleasure, and look forward to catching up again.
Thank you. Talk soon. What a fascinating conversation that was. It was fantastic to hear from Brett about the Sayona story, and of course it's been such a formative period on the back of their NAL acquisition approval. Would love to know your thoughts, so drop in a comment below what you think about Sayona Mining, and where do you think ASX SYA head from here moving forward. We've recently done a video looking into the Sayona Mining story, so we'll leave a link to that up above. We'll also leave some links to our other ASX CEO interviews that you can check out after this one. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it out. We're the ASX Investor channel, and we make daily videos talking about the stock market, investing, and we find and analyze the best growth stocks. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you've got your bell notifications turned on as well, so you won't miss a daily episode, and we'd love to have you join the community. A big thank you to Brett for joining us on the channel. It'll be fascinating to see where Sayona Mining head from here. Thank you for joining us. For now, stay well and happy investing.